This is a video about working on these Broan. It's a combination light, fixture, and exhaust fan in the bathroom. And if you have these, fairly simple to work on. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to convert the light bulb from this compact fluorescent to a regular bulb, and what fits that's commonly found in the shopping store, grocery store, wherever you get your light bulbs, is you can get a compact fluorescent, and usually I would use LEDs. I don't happen to have any right now. This one's only a 40 watt incandescent. What I recommend is a 60 watt equivalent LED bulb, and that doesn't take much power at all, like probably 10 watts at the most. So I'm going to put this socket in, which is called a medium-sized base, fits this bulb. And so let me just show you. First of all, you have to, you want to have the light off and the fan off as well. And we use the lights up here, or the vanity lights over the sink, as our lighting for the job. By the way, these vanity lights, this one has been replaced with a different design. The old one got all rusted. You can replace these with pretty much any vanity light. It's got a standard electrical box, round one. It's almost centered on the sink, should be centered on the sink. I try to center it on the sink when I install the new light. Close, maybe not perfect, but close enough. Just in case you have the same problem we have. So the first thing is to take the lens off, and this is held in by two prongs. I just stick a screwdriver in either side. I pry it out slightly. That releases the prong, and now you have the lens out. And this is a good time to clean any bugs out of there, clean up the lens if you like, get all the, dead critters and such. So that just takes a flathead screwdriver any size. Okay, next. Oh, I'm sorry. This already has been converted. I forgot I did this. So the next step is to unscrew the light bulb. And this one already has a standard fixture, and I took the ballast out, but I'll explain how I did that since I'm making this video now. So take the bulb out, set it down. Now, this reflector here and the grill come off together with this one butterfly bolt here. So just slowly unscrew the butterfly bolt, and normally I would probably want to use two hands when doing this, because this is all going to come down together. Once I have that out, you see it's all loose now, and in fact it's only being held up by the plug. And the grill separates from the reflector. Carefully. Maybe I'll just unplug it. Okay, I notice this plug is polarized, and the outlet up there is also polarized, meaning The larger tab on the plug goes in the larger slot, and that happens to be the common, what's called the common terminal, and this would be the hot terminal, call it L1 or L2, the line power coming in to your box and going through your breaker. This one goes through the breaker. This, the larger slot goes to the white wire, and that goes out to the just out to the breaker box onto the grounding bar. Okay, and I'm going to show you how, well, you can see how this comes apart. Basically, you have to get the wire out of the way, and then you can slip this over, and it's a good time then to dust this off, take it outside and dust off the grill. And so normally, if the original condition of this reflector, it has bolted on here with 2 bolts the ballast for the fluorescent bulb. So what I did was I unscrewed that ballast and I clipped the wires. Well, sometimes I reuse the wires, sometimes I don't. I don't think I reused them this time, but there's several holes on one end, and this is the end where the cord is going to come out. So what I do is I use one of those holes. I think I used the lowest one down here versus the upper ones to screw on this socket. This is a medium base regular light bulb socket, and I actually used one of the bolts from the ballast that was here to bolt this on. But first I had to have a plug, and I could use the old plug from the ballast. A lot of times I do that. I just clip the ends off, and then I connect them here. And see, here's the new one I brought that I was going to put on, but I forgot I already had one on. Let me just explain that once you have the plug off the ballast, or you get a new plug, whatever you do, make sure it's long enough. Should be maybe a little bit longer than this, maybe 5 inches. Then trace this wire to make sure, if you want to meet code. You can do things like this on your own, but you should try to meet the code, which remember that, so this larger prong here, the wider prong, is the common one. And the common one is going to screw on to this white or silver screw. Okay, so you strip the end of it if it's not already stripped, and you slip it under this white screw, and then you tighten this white screw. And then the line, which actually has the voltage on it, is the thinner terminal here. And so that side of the wire, the right side in this case, is going to go on. It's going to go on this golden colored screw, and tighten those down really good and bolt it on so that your bulb's going to stick out in the middle here of the reflector. And you pass the wires through this little slot first that's in the side. Pass the wires through there, and then screw them on to your outlet, your socket, and then this will be ready for a regular bulb, but not a big one. See, that's why I picked the candelabra bulbs. There's also these, you can get these stick bulbs, but they're not very common. It fits better inside, but these candelabra bulbs are fine, and they're available in stores. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to take out the fan unit. Okay, up there. So there's one screw on the left there, right by that white socket, and it's a Phillips screw. So I got a Phillips screwdriver here. I'm going to use that. And here I really need to be careful and probably use both hands in here, because after that screw is out, this whole fan unit is hinged inside the box with two tabs. You can see the tabs up there. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug the fan here. Okay, and remember, the fan goes on, well, it doesn't really matter, but you know, you have one switch for the vanity light, one switch for the fan, and one switch for that light that's in the reflector that's in this unit. Okay, so you're going to take this one screw out right here, unscrew it slowly, and then this whole thing's going to swing out. And one thing I forgot to mention, I meant to mention it, but this didn't have this compact fluorescent bulb. So if you still have the compact fluorescent bulb, when you go to take it out, I've had it where I was pulling on this, trying to get it out of the socket, because it fits kind of tightly in the socket, and I accidentally smashed the bulb. When it came loose, it smashed this side of the reflector and busted. And if I had a small child looking up at that moment, watching me take the bulb out, he could get the bits of that compact fluorescent bulb in his eyes. So what I do, I make sure the switch is off. In order to get that compact fluorescent bulb out, is I pry it out with a screwdriver. I actually put a screwdriver in here. Screwdriver in here, and I pry. And I try to get my screwdriver in between the socket and the bulb, and I pry that bulb. Come on, you mangy bulb. I need someone to hold the camera for me. Who wants to come and hold the camera for me while I take this bulb out? Okay, there. I pried it, and then take it out the rest of the way, and you're home free. And then, of course, oh, this socket. So this socket, by the way, was this old socket, which takes this type of bulb with the two prongs on it. It goes, normally it sits right there, and it clips into this slot. So, and you can see I clipped the wires off right there. So to get this out, you're going to have to take this out by pushing these tabs, one of these tabs, inward to get this out. And then once you get that out, you slip your plug wire through that slot and screw it into your socket, and then bolt your socket on using that lower hole down there. Bolt your socket on to the reflector. Okay, that was just to back up and explain how to do that. And you can use, again, you can use one of the old bolts that we're holding the ballast on here. And the ballast can be thrown away at this point. Okay, now I'm going to go back, and I think I'm going to let this down with the camera off, because I got to have both hands up there when I'm taking that out. So I'm going to pause the video right here. Okay, I'm unpausing, and you can see I got the one screw out, and then as the far sides slid down, angled down inside the box up there, these two tabs that were holding it on the other side up there slipped out, and the whole thing came loose. And you can see there's a little bit of dust. And one thing to note, if you're going to replace the motor and the fan, if you get a motor that doesn't come with a fan, then you're going to have to remove this old one. And you can remove this with pliers, or I can't remember what I think I always use pliers, and I just turn it. This is a special kind of nut that just pushes on the shaft, and it holds that wheel on. And notice that the wheel, the open part of the wheel, is underneath, because this is where the air is coming from here, and it gets pushed this way. So the closed part of the fan is going to be on the top, and once you slide the fan on, it may just push on, or it may need this retainer to stay on. In either case, you need the wheel needs to be on there solid and straight. All of that. And by the way, if you're replacing the motor, it's held on by these two nuts right here. So there's two nuts that hold the motor. Loosen those with pliers, and you can bolt the new motor up. Make sure the cable from the motor, the power cable, is on this side. That's going to plug in where the sockets are going to come into this slot right here when we put this back up there. This bolt right here is the bolt that this butterfly nut goes onto when we slip the reflector back on to the unit right there. So that's what that's doing there, and these two are holding the motor in. One thing to check for while you have the motor out is back up there. If you look in the corner, and I'll just touch it. Right here is where the air goes out, and just touch lightly to make sure that that door is still working. It's a little door that flaps open when the fan comes on, and that keeps birds and other animals and anything from coming back into the house. It's kind of a little one-way opening with a flap there, kind of like your dryer vent on the outside of the house. It just lets stuff go one way. Okay, so if you need help doing this job, let me know. It's no problem for me to do this as many times as I need to. Just take those two screws off, replace the motor, put in two new nuts on those bolts, and make sure that fan is on correctly. I think I'll clean this up before I put it back, and I'll pause this while I clean up, and then I'll show you the reverse order of putting it back together. Okay, so I reversed the angle on this to the front camera, the facing camera, so that you can see up as I install the fan up there. So I've got it cleaned off now. I'm going to go up here and remember it's got these two tabs that have to go in on the near side here. I have to get those to go in, and then I have to slide it up and put the screw in here, which I could never do if I was holding the camera. Alright, so get that screwed in. Yeah, it's all in there. It spins. If you wanted to, I mean, you need to plug it in. If you wanted to, you could test it at this point. Let's see, which one is it? That one. It works okay. You want to make sure that it's sucking and not blowing. It's not going to blow very well because of that one-way valve that's up there. Okay, so now we can reassemble these parts. Remember now, so this is going to go up and this has to go inside and it has to plug into that white terminal up there. So I've got to put these together like that. And I've got to plug this in. And remember, it's got a big side and a small side. Plug it in correctly. And then I need to fit this reflector over that bolt and get this butterfly nut on that stud that's sticking down out of the motor frame without dropping it. Yes, tricky. It would be really hard if I also had to hold the camera. So I'm not holding the camera. Now, this is kind of tricky right now. You've got, as you tighten this, you want to make sure it's lined up, that's square in the room. And I kind of go by where the lens was. You can see the old lens mark there. And make sure everything is together correctly. That these things, those little dowel-like things sticking out of the grill are where the reflector is supposed to go in. And then make sure it's tightened all the way. You don't have to, you know, wrestle with it or anything. Just and make sure this is pointing properly into there. And screw your bulb in. I kind of like these, but they're expensive, this kind. So I just, next time I'm going to buy the candelabra bulb if this burns out. And it's an LED. It could be incandescent if you want. A candelabra bulb will fit in there with the medium base on it, or it can be, and none of these switches have dimmers on them, but you could put a dimmer on it if you wanted to. So if you wanted to put a dimmable bulb in, you certainly could do that. In fact, you can put a dimmable bulb and not change the switch to a dimmer and just have a dimmable bulb that doesn't dim. It stays on full brightness, right? They don't cost much different, the dimmable ones. And then the lens goes on, and put this on carefully. One side in first, and then push the tab over here so it slides up and into place. And there you have it. Job done. By the way, you're going to need something like this step ladder, or you can get a regular ladder, 6 feet or 8 feet high at the most. to reach up and do this job. If you have questions, let me know. I'll answer them. Thanks.